This is Victor Roth with the Ohio Free Press. I'm here with Jeanette Moll, running for the 18th Congressional District. Good evening, Jeanette.
Good evening.
Hey, we've just got a couple of simple questions for you that we'd like to try to get so that, as many people visit the Ohio Free Press, they want to find out just a little bit about the candidates, and that's really where we want to put you. We want to put you on the map and just see who you are and what you stand for. So just got some basic questions. Is that all right?
That's great.
Wonderful. I've asked many of the candidates this very first question. Some of the candidates describe themselves as Reagan conservatives, constitutionalists, or party line candidates. And we just like to know, where would you classify yourself in that, and why?
Well, I'd tell you I'm a pro-life, pro-gun conservative mother of five, and that first and foremost I'm a conservative, and I believe that the Constitution draws the line in the sand on where public officials, what they can do and what they can't do in office.
Very good. The second question, pretty simple. It takes a lot of time and efforts, and I know at one of the candidate nights you said you've got 25,000 miles on your vehicle in this whole process. So I was trying to listen. It takes a lot of time and effort to run this campaign. Why would you leave the comforts of your home, family, and all of those things to take and to run for this position? What's driving you? What's the motivation for that?
Now that more than ever I feel like Washington's broken and that we need to get leaders in office who understand what the American people are saying and actually are willing to listen to them. To date, when I put all those miles on my car, I've done over 90 public events. I've been doing town halls county by county so that I can listen to the concerns of the people, because the bottom line is we need somebody who's going to go to Washington and their number one priority is going to be jobs and the economy, but also understand the limited role of the federal government under the Constitution.
Okay, let's go back to that just a little bit. You've been to a lot of events. You've talked to a lot of people. What are they coming across as? What's Jeanette hearing? What are you hearing as a citizen and a concerned mother? What are they saying? What's happening out there?
I think people are concerned, A, about the jobs and the economy. Here in southeastern Ohio, we were in a recession before there was a recession. They're concerned that we've got a member of Congress right now in Zach Space who said during the August recess, I'm a blue dog Democrat and I slowed down this health care legislation to listen to you, and then he's been in hiding ever since, not listening to any of his constituents. So they want somebody who's actually going to listen to their concerns, and they don't feel like that is happening. And then they also understand that the role of government is restricted by the Constitution, and beyond that, they're really concerned about the federal spending, this whole notion that we can keep printing money. And so, when I talk to the man on the street or the person next door, they're really concerned about this unsustainable debt that we have and generational theft that we're taking from our children and our grandchildren and taking away their opportunity for the American dream.
All right. I have another really tough question for you.
All right.
President Obama was once asked, when does life begin? And his comment was that it was above his pay grade. Now, when I was in high school, we had basic sex education. I think that would be a fairly easy question to answer and not be above even my pay grade. Can you answer that question?
Life begins at conception.
Pretty simple, I guess.
It is.
There are many federal laws, too numerous for us to discuss. If you were elected, is there one act that you feel must be accomplished in the first term of your office, and what would that be, and why would it be so important?
I think it's really interesting right now where we are, because I think typically when you would ask that to somebody, they would say, well, I want this piece of legislation or that piece of legislation. But with everything that's happening in Congress right now, I think the number one thing that has to happen is to turn back where we've gone. In the last year, we've really gone off track. We're going to need to repeal things that were passed, and we're going to need to take things off the table. Things like cap and trade that passed the House. It hasn't passed the Senate yet, but it's still causing the economy and the job market to shrink as companies pull back because they're afraid of the impact of that. The health care reform legislation, the same thing. We need to not only stop those, we need to take them off the table. And if those are able to pass between now and the election in November 2010, we've got to have strong new leaders that are going to go in that freshman class that's going to be able to turn back the tide and get our nation back to what it was intended to be and bring back some common sense fiscal responsibility.
Excellent. I know that you've met with many local business people in my general area, and I don't know what you've met with, across the state. But what are those business professionals, what are those business owners saying, and what are they conveying to you, and what's on their mind?
You know, they're talking about things like the fact that our tax structure makes it so that it's, very difficult. Ohio is ranked 47th as far as being unbusiness friendly because of the taxes we have. They talk about the regulations and the impositions of those, and they talk about things like cap and trade, where here in Ohio we get 90% of our electricity from coal. So when you start talking to manufacturers about the fact that you're going to drive up their costs of production, and so they're looking at all of those things and looking for less government. I mean, when you actually look at it, 80% of all new jobs come from small businesses, and we need to be taking those steps in lowering taxes, lessening restrictions and regulations, and getting government out of the way so that we can actually add those jobs.
Very good. There was a House Resolution 257 introduced by Representative Sheila Jackson Lee of Texas. That could send a citizen to prison if a criminal steals their gun and uses that in a crime. Would you support this type of legislation, or would you oppose it, and why?
I would absolutely oppose that. Under the Second Amendment, which I wrote a brief before the United States Supreme Court to protect individual rights to bear arms. I have my concealed carry permit. If somebody steals my gun, they've committed the crime, and if they then use that gun in another crime, well, using a gun in a crime elevates a crime typically under most state statutes. But that doesn't put any responsibility back on me that they committed 2 crimes or 3 crimes by the time you're at that point. And so we need to recognize, guns don't kill people, people kill people. And the bottom line is, if you want to look at statistics, cars kill more people than guns, and we're certainly not looking at restricting those anytime soon.
Absolutely. All right. I'm going to take this question. Basically, my last question of the night is real simple. There are a lot of people who want to know more about who you are, what you stand for, and why you're running for this office. How can some of these groups get in touch with your campaign, and without giving us any real specifics, but what's the best way? Where can they find the information out online and those sorts of things? And please be specific and spell some of that information for those people that are listening.
Okay, the best place to get information is my website, which would be Moll, MOLL, 4FOR, Congress.org. And you can sign up while you're on the web page, or you could actually email me if you go to Jeanette at mollforcongress.org. And Jeanette is JeAnette, although we do actually have a fallback, so if you misspell my name, it'll still get to my campaign.
Very good. Well, that kind of wraps us up here with the Ohio Free Press with Jeanette Moll, and we'll see you on the other side.